Actually, you can. He asked offhandedly, "How's Vivian doing?" I twisted my neck to give him a squinty look, like a pirate captain about to clobber his too-talkative first mate. "You're breaking our rule." While at the cabin, two subjects were strictly off-limits: Tony's job and my mother. His eyebrows shrugged above the steel-gray eyes. "I know, but it's been awfully quiet out there. You know, like in the old cowboy movies. Too quiet." By this he meant that Mother hadn't gotten herself, and me, tangled up in another murder of late. In other words, police business. Tony's business. In Mother's slight defense, sometimes she got us tangled up in the county sheriff's business instead. I said, "We'll start shooting the reality show in another month, and that should keep her out of mischief. Or, anyway, occupied. For a change, she doesn't have murder on the mind." I lay my head back on his shoulder. I have to admit, I am enjoying this lull. Which was why I wanted to stop time. "Ditto," Tony said. Such a way with words, my guy. We fell into a comfortable, cozy silence. Have you ever been at a restaurant and noticed a couple at another table hardly speaking to each other throughout their entire meal? And you thought, well, there's a marriage, relationship, in trouble. Au contraire. Perhaps they prefer silence. Take Tony and me. I was constantly being subjected to Mother's jabbering, and he had a stressful, high-pressure job, people yakking at him all day. So we took it easy on each other. As if contradicting that, Tony looked right at me and said, "Don't you think it's about time we talk about, us?" I squirmed. Okay, fine. That subject wasn't Mother, and it wasn't the police department either. But the topic wasn't necessarily one I was anxious to explore. Our blossoming relationship had recently become complicated when Tony discovered he wasn't divorced. I realize that sounds about as likely as remembering you forgot to put your clothes on before leaving the house, but let me explain. Several years ago, when Tony Cassato was a police detective in Trenton, New Jersey, he testified against a New Jersey crime family, and his own family, that is, his wife and daughter, was forced into the Witness Protection Program. Mrs. Cassato, whom I'd never met, had been livid that Tony put them in danger, and soon served him with divorce papers, which he dutifully signed and returned to her lawyer. But it turned out that the papers were never officially filed. Perhaps his wife had second thoughts about ending the marriage, or wanted to maintain some kind of hold over her husband. Whatever the reason, Tony had been unable to locate her since she and the daughter were still in WITSEC, and even after he'd left the program, Tony honored Mrs. Cassato's desire, conveyed to him by federal officers, not to be contacted by him. "Can we talk about us later?" I demurred, explaining, "Today has been just too perfect." Well, except for the cheesecake. The first one, I mean. "All right, honey," he said. "But soon, okay?" "I promise." "Can't put it off forever." "Right." As always, first line of defense Rocky heard a noise outside before we did, raising his large head off the floor to emit a long, low growl, his alert eyes going to Tony. Then I heard the snap of dry twigs and pine cones beneath car wheels, and I gave Tony a sharp look of concern, feeling his body ever so slightly stiffen. Sushi, rousing from her slumber, emitted a high yap, better late than never from our second line of defense. Maybe third. Make that fourth. We had a right to be nervous. Last summer, Tony and I were seated on this very couch when a hired killer sent by the New Jersey mob fired bullets through the cabin windows. Antiques knockoff. We managed to escape, and the contract on Tony's life has since been withdrawn. Thanks to Mother, but that's another story. Antiques Con. Still, the memory of that night was all too fresh, and it had meant a long, lonely separation between us when Tony was hustled back into WITSEC.